Hey everybody, this is my 20-gallon open-topped office tank, and I recently had to prop up my Themple plant. It's growing so tall that it wound up falling over. It really doesn't have enough substrate for it to get its roots into the ground, and it's getting pretty big and bushy up top. So all of that weight and a little bit of current flowing against it, and of course we had it fall over. So I tied it up, and when I just got home from work a few minutes ago, it had fallen over. And if you can tell, it had fallen over to the right and was basically laying up against the end of the tank. It had just fallen completely over. So I propped it back up. It did sort of stand upright. I guess I got it kind of stood up on its roots, almost like it's standing on stilts. Again, that's not ideal. It's not really secured to the ground. It's just kind of standing there. But I did reattach my little string. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I have a fishing line right here that wraps around the main stalk and then hooks up again in the back. And so the way I did have it was just the string came through and down. It just came over the top and down, and I had a piece of tape across there, and so the string was able to just slide right up and out when the weight of the plant started pulling on it. So today I pulled it a little further down, put a piece of tape across it, then folded the string up and put another piece of tape across it, so it's actually got a little secondary loop taped onto there, and that will keep it from slipping through. Now, of course, the piece in the back is set up the way I did it originally, so the next time it breaks loose, it's probably going to come loose from the back. But I just want to see how long it takes for that to stand back up. So it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. I just got in. I just got that stood back up. So I'm going to come back a little while later this evening, and we'll have a look at it. So there you go. That's what it looks like at 3 o'clock. All right, so it is now 7 o'clock the next day, and we're getting there. It's definitely growing back towards the light, but it was so far bent to the left there that I knew it was going to have a hard time actually straightening back up. It's more like it's going to curve back around. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep this particular Themple plant growing in this tank. It's really doing well. For a while it was struggling. I'm still not 100% sure if it was a result of finishing a flowering cycle and then it went through a dormant cycle. It is a tropical plant. It grows in a part of the world where it doesn't go through normal seasonal changes where, we here in the northern hemisphere, or if you live in the southern hemisphere and you're not in a, tropical region where you get pretty much even temperatures throughout the year, even amounts of daylight throughout the year, the plants just grow differently. And so I'm not sure if this was, a North American plant. I'd say, okay, it flowered, it cycled, it did its thing. It would probably just die off or at least go dormant before coming back. So that is possible, but it was also exhibiting signs of really serious calcium and magnesium deficiencies, which makes sense because I have no calcium or magnesium in my very, very soft water. So I added some eggshells. I started dosing with the Seachem Flourish, but this doesn't really contain any calcium and magnesium. This is only trace minerals, trace nutrients, whereas the eggshells that I sprinkled all around the bottom where the roots are, they do contain the calcium, the magnesium, and even sulfur, which is good for root development. And so I think it's a combination of the both. And then, of course, the life cycle of the plant might have something to do with it too. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not familiar with these tropical plants that just grow year-round. So it's probably a little bit of all that stuff, but whatever it is, it's snapped back nicely and is growing pretty vigorously again. And as we've seen, we've got little purple flowers developing all over it, and the flowers are just getting started. All of these little things you can see here, these are all little flower buds that have not yet opened up. So we've got tons and tons of little purple flowers getting ready to come out on this one. I'm really excited about it. I like this plant a lot. So don't forget, I do have a bunch of cuttings and everything downstairs. It's easy enough for me to make some cuttings of this and bag them up and sell them. I do sell my aquatic plants. I got my email down below, so check that out if you're interested. And as far as the tank is going, Probably ought to be getting in here and doing a water change pretty soon. It's been about a week, maybe, something like that. At the very least, I should top it off. I do keep this tank relatively warm. It sits right around 29 degrees, which is around the mid 80s, if I get my conversions correct. And as a result, with the open top and the big plant with all of the leaves and everything, remember those leaves are transpiring water. That means they're pulling them up through the roots. It is passing up into the plants, and then it is evaporating off the surface of the leaves, and that process is called transpiration. So the more leaf surface you have, the more airflow and air current you have moving across the leaves, evaporating water away from them. That is basically just wicking water up out of the tank and evaporating it into the air. And then, of course, the open surface of the tank does the same thing. And lately, I've even been keeping the top off of my filter because it's picked up a little annoying rattle when it sits on there. So I'll either need to set a little potted plant on top of it or just leave the top of the filter off. It doesn't bother me either way. You don't really even notice it unless you look over and pay attention. So there you go, little look at my 20-gallon office tank. My RAM is doing really well. I was actually reading up on my study that was done about the nitrates, and I think that it's going to be pretty soon. Hopefully, I was actually considering sitting down and doing it today, but I never got around to doing it. I am going to be shooting that video where we talk about nitrates, and I'm not necessarily going to talk specifically about this fish and what's going on with this fish, but I am going to talk about nitrates in general and some of the studies I've read about nitrates and the impact they have on your aquarium and so on and so forth. It's going to be one of my lengthy sit down and have a good long chat. It might even be while I'm driving down the road in my truck, because that's where I do my best thinking and my best talking, but it just seems kind of out of place to talk about that kind of stuff. I'm not sure how people feel about those videos yet, so if you've watched this far and you're still listening and you want to give me your opinion about my driving down the road talking about stuff kind of videos where I'm sitting in my truck talking about various topics, let me know what you think about those kind of videos, because I can always do them, like I said. And if you're interested in those, I'll get plenty more coming out, and you can even suggest topics of discussion for me, and I'll answer questions or whatever. That could be a whole new avenue we could take down here with my channel. So let me know what you think about that. Make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget, this one is my 20-gallon open-topped office tank, and I'll see you real soon on the next one. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed.